Good morning. Happy Monday, my people, owner operators and owner operators to be. It is Christian Super Trucker Podcast coming to you live. What we do, once again, we gather questions from across our social media platforms and we answer them live here. So today is actually pretty interesting. Got a lot of phone calls regarding, what we do and how we do it. Predominantly the one that's around our company drivers and the opportunity that is at hand for them. So here's what we do. As the guys who've been following us, we are 100% owner operator based. So what actually exists is the following. It's pretty unique. It's pretty interesting for those guys who are company drivers and or for those fleet drivers that are running for some owner operators. So these trucks, my man got 10 of them, and what he actually does is the unique piece about it is that they are Penske maintained. So once again, we are 100% owner operator. We have a nice partnership with an owner operator who has 10 trucks, currently looking for some good fleet drivers, and that is the opportunity at hand. What he actually does is they are serviced by Penske, and what that means for that driver is that it becomes a worry-free program. I've seen it before, where there's a fleet owner, couple breaks down on the truck, that fleet owner no longer could sustain it, and then guess what happens? The fleet driver is out of business as well, because now he has to look for a new home, and depending on where that individual broke down, it could be very problematic for that guy. So the unique piece about this program and what he does, it's actually maintained by Penske. So if there's a blowout or there's some kind of wear and tear issue, some kind of maintenance related issue, or it could be roadside, Penske is on the way to the rescue, and that's what keeps that driver moving. So again, guys, it's a fleet owner looking for some quality guys, and what happens there? It's Penske maintained for your benefit, so you can keep moving. You're not gonna end up broken down for 2-3 weeks at a time because the guy doesn't have any money to fix that repair, or it's kind of that last repair is going to completely put the guy out of business. So you can avoid all of that. So do give us a call, 863-342-5171. All right, guys, make sure if you are currently in the midst of buying that truck, make sure you do pay attention. And what's going to happen there is that IRS is going to be closing December 26th to like mid-January. So if you're doing that lease to purchase somehow, or whatever situation you're in, that you're gonna need that 2290, I'm just letting you know, pay attention to that. You might have an actual problem. So please do pay attention to that. All right, do have a comment here. Do you help flatbedders too? We only do dry van. I can put you in contact with somebody. He normally joins. His name's David. He's in that flatbed world. I'll put his number up, or if you give me text me your information, and I'll make sure you get in contact with the right guy. So again, you can just text 863-342-5171. So let me put my number there where you can text it, and we'll get you some good information. All right, so there you go. All right, so that's an individual, and that's what it's about, guys. Putting people in front of the right people. Something may come of that contact, something may not. At the end of the day, it's really just about pushing forward and improving your business. All right, so another thing that we talk about, keep in mind, IRS 2290s. If you're gonna be in that spot, you better figure something out before you end up with a truck in the driveway and nowhere to move it because it can't get plated. That is what we talk about. Like, that's the real in the trenches type stuff that we want to avoid. I've seen, man, in my career, I have seen guys get caught up and not be able to get their business off the ground and get up under a load because of like some silly paperwork. And that could be so problematic, whether it's coming from the bank, the finance company, whether it's been because the title was lost, and sometimes it doesn't seem like it's going to be a big deal. And then it turns out to be a very big deal because as a business owner, the price to pay is yours, right? And so now you're accountable, and now you don't have this ability to go get out there and get up under a load off of some silly document paperwork that ends up being very serious. That's what we do best. We iron all those things out before we get started. Just like even today, we got an orientation going on. A lot of that back office stuff was done prior to here so that it becomes a smooth process and we get people on the road. All right. So do pay attention to that. It could end up being a very big deal. All right. Get a lot of phone calls, especially around this time of year. What are some of the areas that we cover? So let's break that down. So it's always easier to mention what I don't cover, right? I'm not gonna touch California. Sorry, guys. And we don't do Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, so nothing on that island. So that's what we are not touching, right? Everything else is pretty much on the table. And the way I always break that down is that every mind is a world. So everybody is going to run their business a little bit different. It doesn't even matter why you guys run your businesses different. What we do is we're actually going to accommodate and we're going to move your truck to the right places while respecting your home time and the boundaries, right? You set that tone, right? But there is always opportunity out there. So, even in these phone calls that we've been getting of first time owner operators going to jump into it in the beginning of the new year, is now a time to do it? Is this a good time? Well, you've always hear us say that it's always a good time. You just got to make a move. But even in this week alone, man, top dog 8,400, gross for the week. And you got plenty of guys well over 7,000. And we actually got a phone call. There's an individual from Tampa coming this way. He's going to park truck and trailer in the back, and he's going to sit right here in front of us. And what we're going to do is we're going to chop it up and show him exactly what these settlements look like, how they got there, and what work areas these guys had to go in order to make this money. So that's really what happens, right? I don't control the market, don't pretend to control the market. It's that the dispatcher needs a little bit of room for creativity, adaptability, so he or she can move that truck to the right places so you can reap the benefit. Now, you got your guys that'll say, hey, I like to do that, that southeast. And you got guys that want to go in and out they leave Monday for sure, come back by that Friday afternoon, early Saturday morning, so they're home every weekend. There's so many ways to slice this up. That's for you to decide. We're just here to hit. So do give us a call if you have heavy interest in that. It is 863-342-5171. We got recruiting on standby, ready to answer all your questions. Now, what does the package like this looks like? That's going to be one of those top questions for us, right? So we do it based on transparency, just because that's the only way to do good business. Now, here's the breakdown, right? And we got basically two packages that we have to offer here. Actually three. So you got the local guys. Not a lot of guys actually do that. I don't know. I guess some guys do and whatnot, but I think for a lot of owner operators out there, like, they either choose to do that. They're going to use one of our trailers, right? So what we do here, it's 75% of gross revenue going to you. And what happens there is, number one, you're going to get that original rate confirmation. So why is that important? Several different factors, right? So one, it's going to tell you exactly what these customers are paying, right? You're going to see the rates there. You're feeling it. You go ahead and give them a call, confirm everything is transparent right there. But guess what else is transparent? Even though that rate looks really strong and it looks like like a kick-ass load. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this. There's other things on that rate con that have to be acknowledged, right? Sometimes, let's say you bang out a load for 3,200, but it's going to say tracking hold. It actually says minus 200. So the load is 3,000 and they're holding 200 just to make sure you track. Well, you need to see that that's visible. And why do we do that? Is because we said transparency. We're transparent about the good and we're transparent about the risks, right? So if you don't track, guess what? They're not paying those 200. So we need you to see exactly how these brokers are moving, exactly how these guys are talking, exactly how they're writing things down, because some of these rate cons can be very predatory. So you got to be careful who you do work with and who you don't. So that's part of that right there. Another thing that you can see on these, how aggressive some of these guys can be, right? It can say minus 20, 30% of the line haul for being late. So that's where the dispatch is working with you, and highlighting these things is this load really worth it? Because remember, it didn't say late as long as it's not your fault. It just said late. So while you're dealing with these brokers, yeah, it may sound pretty sweet and all cute, and they're understanding about it, and don't all right, just get there. We call the customer; they're going to be able to unload you, no worries, good, good, good. But nobody ever said we're going to waive that late fee. So you have to pay attention to this. So that's the synergy that happens there. That's why it's also important to be getting those original Raycons, because then there is no surprises of later on, underpayment because somebody was late and so forth. Like, you have to be able to see all these things. And yes, things do happen out there. And when things happen out there, sometimes it's beyond your control, whether it's weather, accidents or something like that. All of those things that do happen out there. But you do have to pay attention on one major thing. What is the communication between dispatcher and broker? How they're communicating, emails back and forth. Okay, not going to get charged for something. So once you see that you're not getting charged for something, then it becomes an easier person to work with. But my number one suggestion is you get it all in writing, because those guys are just as good at this game as you are. So guys, if you've ever seen an underpayment, months later, here you go. This is a lot of it. Why? It's because of these Raycons and how those bad boys are being worded. And is your dispatcher actually looking? So that was on the Raycons. That's why absolutely you get that. Original Raycon. Different factors, not just because of transparency, but you can also see, how some of these bad boys are predatory and what's going on. And never forgetting to check credit. We're always checking credit on these guys, especially, man, in this climate right now. Let me tell you, man, I have been fighting. I'm looking at my board right here, man. I was fighting almost over $15,000. Now, we didn't book these loads when these guys had no credit. We actually took loads, and at some point they actually lost credit. So we got to file against bonds. We have to, call their billing department, stalk them, get our money, because here's what's going to happen. Not necessarily, even if you file a bond, doesn't mean you're going to get anything. So we have to be cautious. Our dispatchers, we want to make sure that our do not use list is not long at all. So what happens is if you put everybody on that do not use list, you're actually running out of options. And so it's easier to probably just be a lot more disciplined in the process and selecting, right? Getting into the rhythm, checking that credit every single time. It doesn't matter if you booked in the morning, you have to check credit by the afternoon. So, you want to be able to work with all shapes and sizes of individuals, some, big boys, smaller boys. It just matters. Sometimes the smaller ones are going to pay more. So, you need this versatility at your fingertips as a dispatcher, as an owner operator. Those two things combined is what's going to level you up. However, you have to stay true to the process. And that's what these guys are going to be doing out there and hunting for you. So do pay attention to that. That's also very important part of the process in getting all that work lined up. All right. Trailers, 23s and 22s. Pretty much their quality, like Wabash's and utilities. And what happens here, that we have a trailer mechanic on site who actually is taking care of those bad boys. So there's tremendous value to having a program like that. One of the biggest ones is that you, as an owner operator, get to run with equipment that is not going to fail you. You're not getting rejected at a receiver or the shipper because of, you're driving a rust bucket and all of a sudden, the trailer's just too old, or now that trailer's falling apart and you're kind of just, fixing pieces of it to keep it together. You don't want to be in that position. So we don't put you in that position. You just got to be doing your pre-trip maintenance-free program. As long as you're letting your dispatcher know, as long as you're letting safety team know, hey, I see this irregular wear and tear pattern on this trailer. Boom, you're always driving around with good stuff. So giving you access to that is a tremendous value to your business. You don't want to be out there doing that power only, borrowing somebody's trailer, taking it to where you don't want, picking it up where you don't want to go, and dropping it to somewhere you don't want to go either. So the reason you don't want to be doing that is, you want that dispatcher. Again, it goes back to having that versatility on what areas that you're going to be going and how to maximize the money. It's The industry is tough as it is. Imagine trying to maximize that money while you have to return this trailer to Colorado, by December 17th. How are you going to make this week successful? So there's so much to look at. Every situation is a little bit different, but nevertheless, that's why we do provide that trailer, plenty of trailers. So there's no worries there. We offer all of our guys free parking right here in Lakeland. So if you're leased onto us, enjoy that free parking, truck and trailer, not a problem. We do have a plate program for those guys who need it. Some guys choose to use it, some guys don't. I want to say for the majority, a lot of guys do use the program. It's pretty simple. You get onto it in one day. That's kind of the orientation that we're doing here. It runs from 9 to 3, and then you load out, right? So there's still plenty of time. There's still plenty of time before Christmas hits. Remember, this guy, he just bought a truck. So the efficiency of this, applied by Thursday and orientation by Monday, he still has time to get some loads under his belt, generate some cash flow for his business so that he can get that going. So that's a tremendous value to him, right? He took possession of a truck. It's time to be, it's showtime. So everything counts at this point, right? Cash flow counts, and getting dispatched and out on the road as quick as possible definitely matters. All right. So we talked about the dispatching part. We talked about the trailers. We talked about basically the free parking here and how it works on that end. All the permits are part of the program. We use Motive as the ELD, no cost to you. Another major thing is we offer 2 different fuel cards. So the 2 different fuel cards actually allow you to save, north of $1,500 a month. And what that does is it's basically going to be the following, right? You can toggle between the two, right? You get the 2 apps, and they're both downloaded to your phone, and you get to compare which one is going to give you the better savings. I've seen guys save, enough money on a monthly basis to do their truck payment. Yep, they pick up a truck from Low Mountain with that bad boy is like $1,600 a month, and guess what? They're saving that amount of money. So you have those guys have that opportunity there to save that amount of money. All right. So you got that in front of you for you to take advantage of. Now, I have seen some guys don't even look at it really as much as they should. And that becomes a major problem for them because they're leaving money on the table. They might not know them, but they definitely have a problem. So you want to be paying attention to that. You want to make sure those apps are working. I get it. There are other people that run, let's say, with the RTS card as well. But here's the thing, like I talked about with the transparency, we push 100% of that fuel savings right onto the owner operator. So somebody can be sitting in front of me, has that same app, but his fuel card, his fuel savings look very different than what we offer. And that's the magic to it. All right, guys. So pay attention to those things. Very important. Cargo liability, that's that big boy insurance. That's part of the program. So one of the tremendous values to being here. We do have some guys who kind of, go home for the week, go home around the holidays for a few weeks, 3-4 weeks and so forth, and then come back. Guess what? They're not accruing the charges to that insurance when they're on that 75 split, right? They're coming back. You don't want to be coming back to that negative balance, right? So that's another perk that can make the difference for you. Absolutely. And guess what? I've seen guys use they drop their truck and trailer here, not a problem. Enjoy their yearly vacate, come back, and you pick up from exactly where you left off. So there's a tremendous amount of value for that. All right. And in addition to that, the second package, guys, let's spend a little bit of time on that. So that second package is when guys have their own trailers. So how do people end up there? Well, there's 2 forms. I would say 50% of the time the guys started with our trailer here, got the ball rolling, got their feet warm, learned the ins and the outs and so forth, and then they level up. And that's not a problem. You can definitely level up all under the same roof. You don't trailer, we're here to help you. We're here to help you do good. And so we've seen that, right? I've even seen guys that had their own trailer and sell it because the market was in their favor, and then use one of ours. and my guy actually waited until the prices went down, and then he just went and replaced the trailer you saw. So he actually made some money off of that gig. So that was pretty impressive. But it was a long game, right? It was patience for him. He had a little bit of discipline in that. But nevertheless, he's like, in my mind, he's like, man, that trailer that I had, that amount of time I had it for free because I made my money back. So he's like, so that's the way I see it. So he made pretty decent money on something like that. So that's one guy, what he did. That may work for you, that may not. Just kind of sharing and putting it on the table here. So, if that serves you, then go ahead and go do something like that. Again, guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm get this stuff in front of the right people, looking for the right answers for their questions. So we do that. All right. So 85 split. What that does is you bring your trailer to the table, whether you had it already before we met, or whether you're actually buying it while you're under our fleet. And then what happens, you go to 85 split, and now in pretty much everything else is the same, except you're on that 85. The two major key points, you do have the insurance contribution of 175 a week, and you are responsible for your maintenance. So those two key factors there leads me to my next comment. Not everybody will benefit from their own trailer. Yes, it's a power move. Yes, you're leveling up, but it just depends on how you run. If you just have to do your math. You got to be looking at what you're grossing, and just see how much value is 10% more, right? Because not that it's hidden costs. People love to say hidden costs, but I don't necessarily believe that it's a hidden cost, right? You buy a trailer has a payment. What's so hidden about that, right? Unless you bought that shit cash, you're gonna have a payment. You're definitely gonna have some physical damage on that bad boy, so that's not a hidden cost. It's part of it. It comes with maintenance. How much are you putting away for maintenance on that bad boy? Okay. There may be some things that you didn't think of, not necessarily that it's hidden, but you may have not have thought of, which would mean, let's say you have a breakdown and you're loaded. And the breakdown on your truck is going to take a little bit longer than that usual, and longer than the customer's comfortable with. And so now there's got to be a recovery on that. So somebody's got to grab your trailer, take it, finish that load off. And now, you got, how comfortable are you with something like that? You may have that. You may have your trailer goes down for whatever reason, and now you're waiting on a part. You know, we actually were waiting for a few weeks and on a back order for an ABS cord. And so what happens is, imagine that was somebody's only trailer. Now you got a problem. As a matter of fact, just to revisit it a little bit. My trailer in New Jersey finally got these guys to respond and pay for the repairs. So we got a trailer that was, they were unloading some paper, and they hit the top portion of it. And so they were ghosting us for a little bit. So we had to, again, everything is on the table. We were calling from all angles, taking names, name dropping, calling corporate, talking about these, just people ghosting us. So imagine that. That bad boy started, they hit us on, they ruined our shit on November 26th. And just like now, just like literally on Friday, they paid. And a lot of the back office stuff that we were pushing to get that done, right, it's the unseen, it's the nobody's looking at that. And then what's going to happen on something like that, if it's your trailer, now imagine you don't have a trailer for 3 weeks. That's going to hurt your business tremendously. So it's good, bad, ugly. Like, it's a little bit of everything. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you consider it all, so that there are no surprises, right? No surprises to you, so that when you encounter something like that, you can already almost be like, hey, I know a guy, and my guy went through something very similar to this. So this is how he got out of it. And so now you already have a kind of a blueprint to how you may react to a situation like this, whether the carrier is allowing you to, hey man, don't even stress that while we're working on that. The worst thing you can do is go home and park. Let's keep them wheels turning. Here's another trailer. Keep earning until we figure this out, until you figure this out, because the last thing you want to stop is that cash flow to your business. All right. So what I talk about there is that versatility under one roof. You have this ability, um, where there are people not only suggesting different types of ideas to the different type of scenarios that exist, but what we're also keeping an eye on is, you know, is results driven solutions, right? Make that money. So here we go. Those are some of the options, some of the things that we're going through now. We do have an individual who it was very very similar what he went through with his own trailer, what I went through and with this one in New Jersey. The only major difference was that his trailer became a total loss. Oh man, and okay, he has insurance; it'll be a payout or whatever. But imagine that inconvenience that is happening, and the money lost during that week, right? So there's still that sense of loss. So here you go. Not one scenario is going to always end up in the same way. It depends who's getting involved. It depends how much damage that was. But nevertheless, my guy had a pivot, right? There's a disruption in his business. And now it's how fast can he bounce back, right? That's the name of the game for him. And what we do here is support him in order to get him back as quick as possible, generating cash flow. That is the name of the game, and it's by paying attention to the small things, paying attention to, can he jump on our trailer until his insurance resolves that? Because again, you got to, you have the somebody going out to do the estimate, all that good stuff. They want to see it, and that takes time. You might not get the adjuster out there for like 2 weeks, especially around this time. What are you going to do? Go home for 2 weeks just because this guy isn't there? So paying attention to all these things, having a carrier that is, that you're leased onto, that can maneuver within these waters that help you improve your situation, that is a tremendous, tremendous plus. All right. So we talked trailers, we talked the payouts, we talked what areas we don't go to because that's the easiest thing to talk to. Another major thing is the home time. Guys, you pick your home time. Just know we got guys killing it out there. Whether it's the holiday season, whatever it is, uh, rates right now, guys are killing it. So when the getting is good, you better be out there making sure you're taking advantage of that. So some of my guys here are stacking up that Christmas money. So always stay ready. That's another major, major key focus, especially for my first time owner operators who are looking to start their project or get their first truck and hit the ground running in January. It's not necessarily you want to have that whole source. Obviously, if you're already working with somebody much like Lone Mountain or Aero Truck Sales or whoever you may be dealing with, a lot of times they want to make sure you have a business plan. Yes, we got you covered. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk to you why they're asking the questions they're asking, what's the importance behind it, why you should know the answers to it. Don't look at it as resistance. It's actually a good it's a good gut check to make sure that you've thought of all these things. Because then is when people say, oh shit, man, there's a lot of hidden costs in trucking. Not necessarily to do trucking is it costs money. It's an expensive sport, but not just that. You have to be asking the right people that are giving you the full answers, right? So yes, owning a truck is not as easy as people would say. It is very, very possible. Guys do it all the time. They just got to make sure that they ask the right questions. All right. So here we go, guys. We have that guy in orientation. Monday is one of the most important part of the day, week rather. It gets the momentum going. So I hope that your dispatch already has you booked out for the week. If not, make sure they jump on that as quick as possible. And so if you have a little bit of versatility, and for those guys who come home every weekend, maybe stay out this weekend. Who knows? Talk to them about that. How much more can you put on the books for doing something like that? These are questions that they should be asking you, or you should be asking them. Y'all should be dialoguing about all of this. Right now, this is the time to be planning for this week. It starts right now. As a matter of fact, it should have started on Friday. So you should have been booked out of Florida for sure by Friday. But nevertheless, if you're not, get to it. Uh, and for those who have questions, 863-342-5171. Do give us a call. We're on standby, and let's talk shop. All right, my people, be safe, drive safe. Got to get to that day job, and we will talk to you soon. All right, my people, be good.